You're listening to Factual America. Tell our listeners something about rural Eastern Kentucky. I mean, I'm originally from the U.S. I've been to Kentucky, but actually not to. I haven't been to Eastern Kentucky. But what is Appalachia in that part of the world like? At least for especially for two people from France.
Well, it's beautiful, first of all, because it's like the Appalachian Mountains are very, very beautiful, even if it's the end of these mountains. So it's mainly hills, and it's very isolated. Like you're in the center of America, but it kind of feels like you're out of America because people are so far away from the world, the city. They have a very strong mountain life. Like you can feel that people live off the land, they live for the land. They are kind of their feet are in the mud of Kentucky. They're very there's this long tradition. It's a place where like the generation of like the grandparents, like the older people, they lived in conditions that are very far from our conditions, because they didn't have like roads. They were very, very much isolated until like the 1950s or something. And so it's mainly hills and all. It's a lot of so Kentucky was really built on this family clans that were like kind of fighting each other for a long, long time. And so there is a lot of people that have relatives in the county, and so it's very much clanic, I would say, and people live like on the bottom of the hill or on top of hills, and there is a long tradition of being kind to one another, like being helpful to one another, and
to be self-sufficient.
There is a strong desire to not to be submissive, to be submitted to the federal state. Like we, as French people, it's kind of weird because we expect everything from the state, and in America in general, we kind of felt that it was opposite. Kind of the opposite. It's like, no, we don't want your help. So it's kind of weird for us, but interesting. And in Kentucky, you can add that because they like, you don't really see much, not in Kentucky, but like in this particular area in Appalachia, you don't really see much of like representatives of the states. So you kind of feel isolated and free in a way, but at the same time, the downside is that you kind of are living under the like laws that are just made by humans. So it's yeah.
Well, it's interesting because just given that I'm from America originally, I will bring my own sort of prejudices probably to this whole conversation. But
where are you from?
I'm originally from Texas, so you know, there's reputational issues there as well. But I mean, you know, so this is interesting because you've already kind of alluded to this. You came to this, as you said, almost it's like virgins, like you had no knowledge of what to expect. Because I was going to say, you know, there's this stereotype Appalachia in the most positive way. I mean, it's coal mining, it's poor, it's, you know, all these things, and yet. So did you were completely had no idea, or did it live up to any of these stereotypes, and how did it defy the stereotypes that you had, if you had any going in?
We kept like we kind of were based our thoughts about what we lived there, and we like Brian was very interesting to be with, because we understood that the stereotype was like as any stereotype, true and false. It was much more complex. So what we experienced ourselves was we were very generously welcomed, and people were nice to us, and probably also more at ease with us because we were introduced by one of them, which is Brian. And we worked like it was very important for us to be accepted. We understood that there's a downside of being wanting to be alone, is that you can also have a little maybe defiance is a strong word, but in English I can't find a lower word. But I mean, we understood that we had to we wanted to be immersed and to be accepted and to live amongst them and to be kind of we kind of slowly became parts of the family and their circle of friends. And so the cliche is that's why we have this scene with Brian dressing the camera to say, yes, we're hillbillies, yes, we're this, we're that, we are what you think of us, but at the same time we're not. And at the same time, how can we live under such circumstances that we are in nowhere, and we don't even have enough to be hillbillies anymore? So it was kind of you want to talk? I feel you want to talk.
Because for me it was weird because I didn't know what to expect about going there. But when I was there, it reminds me something about my own life, because I come from a very poor white trash family in France. I come from the north of France. We've got some problem with the mines industry. My dad was a farmer, and I mean, I've got so many stuff in common with these people, and for me it was very, very, very weird to face that at this moment. So it gave me a key to understand how it works. And
yeah, we were not very much interested in having this stereotype be the subject of our films. It was more how, like, the perspective of the past and the present and the future, and how no matter what identity it is an identity that has, of course, that can sometimes relate to the cliche and sometimes completely go against the cliche. So it was kind of like a very dense experience of this stereotype. But what we were most interested in is that Brian was kind of like questioning this culture and questioning this moment of history, because they're stuck in a very like long death in a way, because there is nothing left for them to live. Like there is no more mines, there is no more jobs, and their identity is what he says is kind of stuck in the past, and there is no future ahead of them. So we were more interested in filming and really understanding that, more than to kind of it would have been probably an easy approach to just be like, oh yeah, let's film the white trash America. But it wasn't. Like we were very close to them, even though there were, of course, some stuff that we maybe didn't agree on or something. But we wanted to be more profound and like to just really seize the moment, which was a very interesting moment, because Brian was really capturing something that relates to hillbillies, but of course we're very much about our world today. And even like anyone can relate to what he says, I think, even outside of Appalachia.